Now, if you look at America today, you will find that they, I believe, are more divided than they were even in the days of Abraham Lincoln. We have serious division. Look at the foreign policy of this land and look at the two parties in America. And they have a bitter disagreement over how to conduct foreign policy toward Iran and toward Israel. And what about what constitutes marriage and family? They're bitterly divided about that. I mean, like I've never seen before in my life. How about the economy and our debt? They're just as profoundly and bitterly divided on that issue as well. So who's right and how are we going to solve our problems? Well, Jesus Christ said it would bring us to desolation. That's how dangerous it is. Notice Christ also talked about this same issue in Mark. It's almost the same words, but it's being emphasized by repeating it again because it's such an important subject. This is in Mark 3 and verse 24. And if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. And if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. Now, a country divided against itself simply is going to fall. That's what he's saying. And a house divided against itself is going to fall. Now, I've seen something here more deeply than I've ever seen it before. And I think we need to look at it more closely because God wants us to understand this. And I certainly understand it even better from what I saw this morning. Notice what Christ inspired a third time to be written in Luke 11, verse 17. But he, knowing their thoughts, said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and a house divided against a house falls. It just falls if it's divided against itself. Every kingdom, he says, divided against itself is going to be brought to desolation and destruction. And a house divided against itself falls. It just falls. But here's what I think is so profound about this. If you look at it closely, that house, where he's actually talking about the kingdom falls apart, but he shows you why it falls apart, because the house falls apart. It's divided. Or the families and the marriages, they're divided. And that's what causes the whole kingdom to fall into devastation and desolation. That's what he's saying. If the house is divided, or the home, the families, then so is the whole nation going to be that way. And the more our homes are broken up and the families fall apart, according to this biblical traditional family, we're going to have problems like that we just simply can't solve. Here is the family is the backbone of any nation. Even the Chinese understand that, and they don't get it from the Bible. But a house divided against itself falls. A family divided against itself falls. It cannot stand. And that is the foundation of your whole country. And so God gives us a solution here. It's deadly division that has to be removed from the families, or it will never be removed from the country. And the real problem begins with the family, with marriage and the family. 3 times Christ mentions that, inspires this to be mentioned, and that's the number of finality. And I think he just is saying indirectly, well, look, you have this warning, and if you don't listen to it, you're going to have a finality of your own country if you don't learn this profound and foundational lesson. This is serious. And you've never seen more family and marriage breakdown than what you've seen in America and Britain and in Jerusalem and that part and the Jewish state today. You've never seen a breakdown of the family like you've seen today. And even just a few years ago, families were much stronger. I'm telling you, there are serious repercussions from that, and that's what Christ was telling us about this house divided. But who listens to Jesus Christ? Those were actually his own words. How about our division over foreign policy? Look at how we're divided on how we should handle Iran here in America. Well, the Jews are divided about it themselves. They can't get their act together, and neither can we. And we just are just miles apart on issues like this. How serious is that? Well, George Friedman wrote in Stratford, July 8, 2011, he said this is changing the balance of power in the Persian Gulf because Iran is growing in great influence. And they have this military, and he says, looks like they're going to dominate Iraq. Well, isn't that interesting? Because of Iran's growing power and soon to be nuclear as well. But let me read to you what I wrote many years ago, and it's exactly what Stratford is saying today. Notice what I wrote in the King of South booklet. Is Iraq about to fall to Iran? The most powerful Islamic country in the Middle East is Iran. Can you imagine the power they would have if they gained control of Iraq, which was at one time the third leading exporter of oil in the world? I predicted as far back as 1992 that this could happen. Here is what I wrote in December 1994. Such a takeover of Iraq by Iran would shock the world, especially Europe. It would be a strong impetus for Europe to unite quickly. Such a move would in all likelihood give Iran power to cause a sizable increase in the price of oil. In reality, they would then control virtually all of the Middle East oil. And now they're going to also get control of Libya before long, or at least have heavy influence there, because your Bible prophesies it, and I pointed that out just recently. It goes on to say this could help trigger a collapse of the Western world's weak currencies. This in turn could cause Europe to quickly unite into the most powerful economic bloc in the world, and that Holy Roman Empire that we talk about so much. And then that very event is prophesied to occur in your own Bible. That was, is Iraq about to fall to Iran from the Philadelphia Trumpet? And I go on in the booklet here. You should read that paragraph again. The way events have unfolded since that time have opened the way for that scenario to be fulfilled even more dramatically than I imagined. In 2003, the United States eliminated the leadership of Iraq. Saddam Hussein was the only leader that Iran feared. Now the U.S. has taken him out of the way, but does America have the will or strength to guard the spoils of war? Prophecy states that it does not. Has the U.S. now cleared the way for Shiite Iran to rule over Shiite Iraq? That was written over 15 years ago. Before the war on Libya even. And it's all there in Daniel 11, verses 40 through 45. I don't really have time to go into that, but that's really what this is all about. Those verses over there, that's what it's all about. And it says there's going to be a clash between that king of the north and the king of the south. And those emotions of Caroline Glick and other people in Israel who really see what is about to happen, they're seeing the outer edges of a great prophecy in their own Bible being fulfilled. It's right there in their own Bible, and it says that this book of Daniel is only for the latter days. It was written for no other time. I think that ought to sober a lot of people. God has spoken, and God's word will come to pass, and it goes on there to talk about Libya and Ethiopia is going to come under the influence of the king of the south, or Iran, just like Egypt is going to. We've said that for years, and now the Muslim Brotherhood is getting the upper hand there, and they hate Israel, and they love Iran, and they're becoming more closely allied with them. You're going to see that in the upcoming September elections. You're going to see more of that. I tell you, it's there for anybody to see if they're just aware of world news. Egypt is going to be closely allied with Iran, and we've been saying that for nearly 20 years. because it's right there in Daniel 11 in those few verses that I mentioned to you. Then, of course, it goes on to talk about Libya and Ethiopia. And remember, I mentioned that about Libya before that war ever did break out. But anyhow, there are tremendous opportunities for Iran, and that's what Stratford is talking about. It's just opening up just massive opportunities for Iran, the king of the South, which is about to be defeated soon by a European power. And we've said that for many, many years, about, even beyond 50 years. But notice Daniel 12 and verse 1, it talks about God protecting His people from the worst trouble that they've ever had. He's going to protect His own church that is loyal to Him, His very elect. And then verse 2 it says, and many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. And they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and they that turn many to righteousness as the stars forever and ever. Now, that is quite a magnificent ending. And God says it's all leading up to that. There should be no chapter break there between Daniel 11 and Daniel 12. It's all leading right into the time when Jesus Christ is going to rule this earth and begin to work with people and bring them eternal glory, where they can rule over the earth and over the universe forever. Now that just should make us all ecstatic. But a divided house cannot stand. And God is telling us how we have to solve our problems. Jesus Christ mentioned this and even prophesied that these things would happen and showed us how to solve these problems and how to bring all of this beautiful prophecy to pass. These other things have been fulfilled that I mentioned to you, and so is that about receiving eternal glory from God. So that is something that ought to inspire and stir all of us to really get busy and do something about our spiritual lives. Until next week, this is Gerald Flurry. Goodbye, friends.
We have 2 free booklets to offer you that perfectly supplement the program that you just watched. The first is Jerusalem in Prophecy. Jerusalem means city of peace, and yet this city's history has been filled with rivers of blood. No city has suffered like Jerusalem. It has known almost no peace. But there is good news ahead. God established Jerusalem to be a city of peace and will one day make sure that it becomes a reality. It is actually the city from which God's united family will rule the entire universe. The other booklet is titled God is a Family, and as you heard on today's program, family division is actually the root cause of our division nationally. Call the number on your screen and request both of these free booklets. Now you can also order these booklets online or even read them if you like at thetrumpetdaily.com. The website, remember, also has all of our Trumpet Daily programs available for your viewing pleasure. It's at thetrumpetdaily.com. And also remember our other website, thetrumpet.com. Over there we post new content every day that will help you understand your world and your purpose for being. That's thetrumpet.com. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you again on Monday morning.